Hello and welcome to the final piece of our coverage for the most robbed season in the LRG countdown. Backyard Survivor 5 yards apart. An absolutely incredible season. I've talked about at length what it meant to me in bringing myself into the community, but so many people that have watched this season on this occasion with part of our coverage have commented how it really should have been a lot higher. And I think it's just suffered from the fact that people hadn't watched it before they voted. So let's assume that's not going to be as good as Backyard 4, which of course we're still yet to see, and which the production was incredible. But in terms of gameplay, this season is by far one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting. I think it has the best moves. I think it has the best move, which was Keegan's at the final 9. But I think it generally has the best moves we've seen in any LRG, made only the better by the fact of how tired they all were after a 23-hour game or whatever it was. So an incredible season. It's been great to coverage. I think it also lost some votes due to, if you really love Kyle and Bryan, which we know many of you do, many of I do, we all love them, you're going to vote for one of their seasons the best. And you probably voted for the most recent and the one that probably had the highest production quality. So I understand why we're yet to see Backyard 4. But here it was robbed, but it's been fantastic to cover it. It's been a really great series. I think the tea party with Jess and Stephen, even though John completely stood us up when we had the tea party at 3:00 in the afternoon so he could dial in from the UK, and he just stood us up and hasn't responded yet. Like, poor form, John. I have to find out from Kyle and Bryan if that's his usual style. Equally, the tea party was great. My catch up with Keegan, the only 3-time player, was fantastic. I think the deep dive with Jay was particularly special. Probably one of the best pieces of coverage we've done, certainly for this series, but generally probably my favorite deep dive so far. No offense to any of the other winners. Jay was fantastic to catch up with. I really enjoyed that one. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. She's a really fascinating player, a really interesting person, and just a really great person to chat to about her experience and what helped her get her to the win. So next week, we're going to be going very quick into our coverage of the 4th best season, Sydney Survivor 1, because I want to get through that. We're not going to rush it. It's still going to be the usual 4 weeks, but I want to get it done before the brand new season. It's been over a year since we've had a brand new season. Canberra Survivor versus the World, Canberra 3, will come out at the end of September. So very excited for that. Cast reveals have begun, and we want to get into that, doing all our coverage on the ORCA pod for when that season drops. So going to bring in Kyle, Bryan. We're going to do the awards. We're going to do the chat. Then we're going to get into Sydney next week for a 4-week period, and then into Canberra Survivor. Very excited. Without further ado, let me bring in the creators of this wonderful season, Kyle and Bryan. Welcome.
Hello.
What's up?
How you going?
How disappointed were you, gentlemen, that this season, surely your favorite in your heart of hearts, did not rank higher or did not rank as your highest season?
We're not meant to have favorites for our children, but surprisingly, it is not my favorite. But Backyard Redemption is my favorite.
Okay,
so I'm stoked that it's still in the race.
Yeah.
But I know that people love this, and I was expecting it to be higher.
What about you, Kyle? Are you similar? Do you like Backyard 4 more, or?
Do I like one more than the other? I'm someone who really loves complex game strategy, and so for that reason, I love season 2 because it's so fluid. It's so exciting to see all the moving parts in it. So, yeah, I'm a fan of season 2, and I thought it would be fun as well.
Yeah, the production, obviously in 4, which it's what you guys do the most, is the most incredible. And 4 has an incredible amount of heart. But when it comes to the strategic gameplay, nothing beats the season in the 11 that we're covering. So I can see both sides of the coin there, and I understand your views. Now, to get into the all-important awards. Now, in the past, just before we got onto air, I talked how often Bryan made the right calls pretty often with who was going to win these awards. And Kyle had the wrong answers. And Bryan very generously offered that it's because he's loud and jumps in first. So Bryan gives the correct answer in his head, which often is correct. And then Kyle takes an alternate answer to give a different perspective and to give another player a chance, or somebody else saying how great they were. But maybe in his heart of hearts, he knew that he was saying the second best, perhaps. So we're going to let Kyle go first this time as to whom he thinks has won the award. And I must say, you're in this is a difficult situation because, unsurprisingly, given the quality of players across the board in this season, this is the most close runnings we've had of the questions and awards for any of the coverage. Often there's runaways and it's easy to predict. Unsurprisingly, in this season, there is not runaways because so many of the players were so good. So the first one, who was the MVP, do you think, Kyle, according to the fans?
Well, I think it was really nicely spun, and the reason why I got the wrong was
Sorry, if I just hold you for a second. For some reason, your audio is a bit funky, but Brian's is good.
But Brian's is good.
Maybe adjust your AirPods slightly.
No.
Let's go again.
Fine, I'll go first. No.
I think that might be okay. No. Yeah, I think your microphone's stuffed on that AirPod.
Soften.
Let's try this. Sorry, gentlemen and ladies that are watching live. Let's try this. Sorry, you're muted. Give me a second. Can you unmute at your end, please? There we go. Go.
How about
Better? Okay, go, Kyle. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
was
good.
MVP?
Yeah, MVP.
Okay. Keegan.
And who do you think? Sorry, Brian? Jess? Jess didn't poll very strongly in this, sadly. I think that's very disappointing. In third place, we had John. And then second place was Jay. I think that's what was deserved. But Keegan was the MVP of the season. He's here live.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, Keegan. You are the MVP of the greatest season, strategic season. And honestly, with that move, you deserve it. Also getting the notes were Tennille and Stephen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So who wins the Annabelle Award for Best Pre-Merge Boot? Obviously, those that were eligible were Holly, Helen, Casey, Jake, and Dan.
Mm-hmm.
think?
Holly.
I think Annabelle loves the chaos of Jake.
Well, it's not Annabelle's choice. It's just
Also,
named
Annabelle.
after her.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Annabelle was the best pre-merge boot from Playing with Fire. That's why I named it after her.
Right.
It's the fan vote.
I think it's between Daniel or Jake, but I'm just gonna go Jake.
It was Daniel. Everyone got votes, but Daniel got 7. But you were right there with Kyle, the next best Kyle, by quite a distance in front of everyone else was Holly with 6. She only missed out to Dan by a single vote. What do you think about? Is it Holly's return that's got the love for Holly? Is it just a love she has in the community? Even though she's only in one episode, how do you think she pulled out this victory?
Well, I think when the season came out, there was so much love for Holly. Like, people watched that first episode, were enjoying her throughout, and then were gutted that she was eliminated. It's largely what inspired us to want to bring back First Boots because of that reception to Holly. And so I think it is like based on like her as a character in the one episode that she is in this season, but potentially also like because people have been able to see her a second time.
And the famous last words, second blindside, whatever she
shouts. I was like, she gets the zinger of the episode and she's already been voted off.
Yeah.
That's Holly.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. I do want to talk about the first bit there when we get to talking a bit about the season. All right, look at that. This is an unbelievable situation. Which one-time player would you like to see again? Only 3 people did not get votes. Everyone else did.
Yeah, wow.
So obviously this doesn't include Keegan, Mitch, or Holly, who all have had an opportunity to play again in the 11 that we are currently out, but only 3 of them no one wants to see again. No offense, but like,
let's maybe not name them.
but they least want to see them again. But I've never seen it with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people wanting to be seen again. That's a lot. That's a very strong cast.
Yeah.
Who do you think, though, Carl, got the most?
I'm going to say John.
And yourself, Bryan?
I'm going to stick with Jess.
Would you believe it? The number 1 was Tennille.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah, no.
People love Tennille. And in second place was Stephen.
Oh, right. We got away wrong.
But everyone got votes. I won't say the ones that didn't get votes. That's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
But like everyone but 3 got votes. So there was a real spread of just real love of all these players.
Bring them all back.
People love to know. I remember someone on a dating app messaged me saying, "Oh my god, you're the guy that loves Backyard. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with Tennille." I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think this is probably an easy guess. Is this season too high, too low, or just right in the rankings? What do you think the people said?
The people said too low.
They did. 90% of the voters thought it was too
Wow.
low. 10% thought it was fine, but nobody thought it was too high. Look, I'm in that boat. I think I might have voted for too low as well. Okay. Oh, I've got to do this calculation. Sorry, I am not prepared tonight. I must apologize. I'll do a quick calculation on where Jay's score ranked. Okay, I think that's right. Yes. Okay, so it's on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the best. Where would you rank Jay compared to that of the other 10 LRG winners?
I have no idea. This one I find complicated every time. I don't know how people are ranking it.
So sorry, what's the best 10?
1's best.
Jack's a strong social threat, physical threat, Chandler running the strategy, playing idol. I'm going to say 3.
Right, it's very hard to get a 3 because you get an average vote. But she has scored a 4.95, which puts her, of the rankings we've done, I'm missing a number. Yes, I'm missing a number. I think it is of the rankings we've done. She's still the second best. Halim got the most ranked best. Currently, it would be ranked in this order: Halim, Jay, Jeremy, Lily, Sally, Toby. So her win is highly ranked, highly rated compared to others, and I think that's well deserved.
I'm happy with that.
Okay. And now the ORCA. Now, a fun one about this ORCA, while I said in terms of the comeback, everyone got votes. But as the ORCA is voted for by Keegan, no love for Toby. It's because no one's watched that season, mate. It's like 40 minutes on YouTube. No one's watched it. Even when we did the coverage. But Toby's game was great. Go back and watch my deep. He actually was pretty damn good. Kyle was there. He can tell you. He was good. You don't admit it, but he was. So while everyone got votes for who wants to come back, on the ORCA, the fans vote, and of course the ORCA committee votes. And even amongst the fans and the committee, only 6 people receive votes, the same 6 people. So there's a clear 6 deserving of ORCA votes from the fans and the committee that has resulted in the ORCA position. The 6 that received votes were Jake, Keegan, Jess, John, and Stephen. I'm sorry, so there's only 5 and Stephen. So 5 people all got ORCA votes, and that's where it all spread. Who do you think won the ORCA award? I'll give you the criteria. Do you want the criteria?
Oh, yeah, can I get the criteria?
They demonstrated propensity for narcissism, strong arm tactics, and incredible self-confidence. Though people that voted after watching the last Tea Party may have been influenced in their decision. But who do you think people voted for?
Yeah, so I've gone Jess.
Well, I'll go Stephen.
Okay. In last place was Keegan. Sorry, Keegan, I know you really wanted this, but people like you too much. Even though
In fifth place.
Fifth place. In fourth place, tied was John and Stephen. I know he's very disappointed. Stephen really wanted to win it. In second place is Jake, who was just out of control on all those. He was unbelievable. But winning it with quite a lead was our second ever female ORCA. Jess has won it. Well done, Jess. The most coveted award. Now, I don't think Jess is a narcissist by any means. I think what happened was, I don't know if people tuned in live or later tuned in, watched the Tea Party, but Stephen and Jess were great on that. They got in a bit of a bickering match, like about the season and everything. And it was made very clear at that time that Stephen really wanted to win the ORCA. So Jess then said, well, give it to me then. I want to win it just so Stephen
That's so funny.
I think that may have flown through into the final
votes. That's so funny.
Jess is also moved to take it down.
Strong arming tactics.
To get the win.
No one more deserves.
So well done, Jess. Congratulations. That's 2 seasons in a row with a female ORCA, which is fantastic to see. We hadn't had any female ORCAs before the 6th season that we covered, which was Brisbane. So well done to Jess joining Lily and others who, if I was careful, I could think it's Andrew, it's Kevin, it's Matt, and it's Dom. And who am I missing from Warrandyte? It is... I can't remember. Did Jericho win it? I'm not sure. I have to check my stats. I'm very sorry. I don't have the information on me, but we will clear that up as we move forward later into the discussion about the season. We talked a bit about how this season came about in the past, that, you know, you'd done one in the backyard and you thought, okay, let's make it bigger and better. Did it all start with the pun? You guys love a great Survivor pun, and this is probably the best. Did it start with the pun?
Good question. Because I think when we were looking at the venue that we had, and we saw that it was like the back of 4 backyards. Yeah, I don't know what we really.
I think started with location. Then we moved on to 4 tribes. We saw where they were going to be, and then we went yards apart.
How did you get 4 yards? Or was there not really 4 yards? It just made it look like 4 yards.
It's like there are 4 houses next to each other, and then it's not part of their private property, but it's like a floodplain between the river and those properties. But only those 4 backyards have access to that space. So yeah, we basically just took over that area. My brother was living in one of those houses, so that's how we got access to that space.
And how far is that from the Perth CBD for, you know, people that aren't familiar with Perth?
Oh, it's like 30 minutes.
Okay, but it looks regional. It looks rural. It's, you know, that's
small.
Yeah, something like that.
It's about 5 minutes away from here.
I can tell you, Adelaide's also on a large river, and there'd be no place on that river that looks like
yeah.
You have to go up the Murray River to get a place that looks like that in Adelaide. Yeah. So I always loved the location. Yards apart. It's a great pun. Obviously, I say keep talking about the puns. You've got one well coming up. What is it about the shitty mid-20s Survivor that appeals these puns to you? Like the universally agreed worst period in Survivor history.
Well, I think that's part of it. Is like these seasons, these ideas that they came up with aren't necessarily bad. They were just executed poorly.
Yeah.
So there's something about taking their good idea, knowing what didn't work, and then doing it properly. Like doing it better.
Yeah.
That's appealing and it's fun.
Did you think? Tell me the casting for this. How many of these people did you do obviously, the first one was your friends that you brought in, and I think some of these people may have been your friends. But was there also an independent casting process for this season?
Yeah. We had applications out, so it was available for people we didn't know to apply for this.
And what was the mix? Roughly, without counting them all, if you recall.
Good question.
I would say there's like some close. It's probably like a third close friends, a third acquaintances, and then a third we didn't know at all.
Yeah.
And have any of the ones you didn't know at all become a big member of the community?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
All of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to think that, like Helen, for example, is someone that we are very good friends with. Like we see her for Backyard Survivor, but also for other things socially. And to think that she was a stranger that rocked up to apply for season 2 of Backyard Survivor. It's like, it's strange to think that that's how we initially met each other.
Oh, and poor Helen, not only did she come, she goes out in the first episode, but by virtue of her tribe doing slightly better in the challenge, she goes out second, thus robbing her of a chance to come back in season 4. What a poor run for old Helen.
She was fine with that. We didn't tell her about Holly, David, and Kiara coming back for redemption, so we were a bit worried when she saw it that she would be disappointed, but she was fine.
Yeah, because hers would be the most hardest one, obviously, because in the other ones, David and Kiara are clear first boots, but when there's a double boot in the first episode, it could have just have been easily as you. Of course, it's not like Holly went on to have the greatest experience in season 4, so without spoiling it. So maybe there's a glass half full situation there, but I'm sure a lot of people love the opportunity to play again. There's something very well designed about this season in terms of how quickly you get from the start in groups of 4 tribes into a swap and mix together into 2 tribes and then into the merge. It just feels very, very quick, even though there's 5 boots, and 5 boots is a common number in your seasons and in some others to get to the merge. There's something about the pre-merge that goes really quickly. I think it might be that it's 3 EPs and you've got 5 boots because you do the 2 double boots. Was that a deliberate design to keep the flow of the season moving quickly on a rewatch, or was that just a bit fortuitous the way it turned out when you edited it?
I don't think it had anything to do with the watch factor of it, but more the idea of having double eliminations pre-merge is allowing different dynamics to play out. So if one tribe is just winning every time, then we don't get to see them go to tribal council, don't get to see those dynamics at play. And so it's I think we've done this a few times where it's a double before they swap and then a double after they swap, so that we get to see different dynamics on different tribes play out, guaranteed.
Yeah, you don't want a tribe that has no consequences. It's so likely that those bonds will mean nothing because they were never tested.
And talking about having those bonds and then being able to move them around and shape them, did you I think a lot of what I've said in the season, the coverage, is every production decision where you hope something will go a certain way went in an interesting way. Whereas we talked about with Exile, where so many things that you probably hoped would have gone, other than the infamous rock advantage, a lot of things didn't go in probably the way you'd hoped from a production point of view, particularly starting off with the steal a person after the first challenge, which created the green-blue sort of Uber alliance. Was that how you anticipated that sort of working out, or were you just saying, let's do this and see what happens?
We kind of had this unspoken pirate theme.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We're like, ooh, we're on the water.
Yeah.
We're like, let's go into the like lie, cheat, steal side of things, and so that's where we sort of thought, let's do a kidnapping as like part of this like pirate theme, but it's a really under-delivered theme.
I think it is under-delivered.
There's remnants of it hidden in the season, but it's not.
Yeah. Do we mention like the lie, cheat, steal thing?
Yeah.
I think we've spoken about it before, but we did actually have like
lie, cheat, and steal the survivor concept.
Yeah. So we actually had like a dilemma in this season, which was lie, cheat, steal, but it's not on the show
because it didn't have an impact.
Exactly. Yeah, it like had no result, like no consequence, and so we just removed it from the season altogether. So there's actually people who faced a dilemma.
Yeah, and part of the reason why we took it out was because it does have consequence in season 3. So Tristan goes on a dilemma and he chooses cheat and gets the rock draw advantage. Never tells anyone and goes home with it in his pocket. AJ, when he returns to the game, chooses steal and gets a steal vote, eliminated in the game. Both of those things end up in season 3, so we just wiped it.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Particularly, did Tristan get that because he was the person who was taken? Is that how he got that opportunity? And AJ obviously coming back in the game got an advantage, because we did talk about that, how he came back in with no advantage, which you didn't do in season 3. But equally, it's pretty common with these comeback things to give people something to get them through. Is AJ, even though AJ doesn't go in that incredible tribal council, which I'm sure we'll talk to in a moment, was part of putting an idol or an opportunity for an idol for Kath to get in exile sort of a reflection of maybe AJ needed some more help? Or what made you think to do it differently the next time when you had the returnee there?
I don't think it was because of what happened with AJ. I think it was just us always wanting to change the design of the season. Like we didn't want it to be always a case of the person who gets back in gets X or has the same treatment. I think it's good for the players to never know like what is possibly being received by that person, if anything. So it wasn't for that. I think we just had a fun idea in season 3 of how we would introduce that idol. Because in that case, it was Kath got a clue to the idol, but she would have to bid on the right auction item. So it was just another fun way to play with past formats that we've seen on the real show.
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty okay with the idea that Kath wouldn't get it. Or whoever got back in wouldn't get it, and then they would get eliminated, and then it was about like the missed opportunity. We thought that might be how that played out.
Speaking of AJ getting back in, there has been a lot of talk from the various contestants we spoke to on this season about why and how the season went so late, and a lot of people blamed that returnee challenge. Is this another one that you guys foolishly tested on Kyle and determined it was actually pretty easy?
Look, that may be the case, but I don't think that the challenge is why it goes so late.
No, that challenge did go for too long, but we were already behind. It's just that challenge happens as the sun sets, so it feels like now we've hit night. Yeah, it just.
I would say the first challenge, the slip inside, had more of an impact on us being late than that one. Because I think we started 2 hours behind.
Yeah.
And like to start 2 hours behind, it's just
as you do now, and as you know now, if you're not setting up, prepping for it the day before, you're going to end up behind if you're trying to arrive and then get it all going.
And we also at this point, like the only one we'd done before was season 1, which was really close confines. Like to wrangle people was like, oh, I can just call out to you on the other side of the backyard. Not the case in season 2. Like we wanted a bigger venue so people had more space to play and like get about and strategize. But what we didn't account for was as crew members, like we had no comms because we're using our phones to film. We had no walkies.
We had no idea.
It's like, all right, we need to get this, we need to bring the tribes in. It's like, God, it's so far away.
Yeah.
So you're just like sending
Run up
people
there.
running.
Yeah.
The crew did so much. Like, yeah.
Walkies are essential for that stuff like that. Just, can we get there? We need this tribe at tribal council now. And 5 minutes to tribal council, so someone can be telling that. So at least when like it's time to go and they're like, wait, what? We're still strategizing. If they get the 5-minute warning there, at least, they're given notice that it's about to happen. Did you test that challenge on Kyle? We've talked about this before, how you stopped testing challenges because he's too good at that.
Yeah. I can't do that challenge.
Yeah. And as I said, I think last time, because you tested also, I think, the crazy foot stacking challenge that you had in Exile. I played Drunk Viver with Kyle, and even though he was like half a game in the Drunk Viver and drinking the drinks through that, and the returnee challenge was some stupid rolling a ball down a thing into like a little slot, he absolutely annihilated it even after a half a day of drinking. Like, it was ridiculous.
That's why it's so annoying, CK. he always is able to do it.
So that's your skill. I appreciate that. I think you tested on Bryan now. It makes more sense. Talking a little bit about the challenges are great in this season. Look, everything is so good. The gameplay, which we'll talk about. I feel like the editing, though, is really, really well done. Like, earlier on in the first couple of eps, it's fun. Like, it's really fun. Everyone's confessionals are fun. All these big players are wanting to play big moves. You get to know so many of these people, but you don't get too much of any of them. And, you don't do what you did in Exile that we criticized a bit, where everyone got their, like, welcoming moment. And it's like, this going on. It's just, I meet all these people in a way they all are someone and noticeable to me really early over a couple of episodes. There's still some reasonably good gameplay for pre-merge. And then we get into this incredible merge where 2 idols are played, and there has to be three idols are played. Everyone that had votes gets protected, and then there's a revote. You've got people switching votes on both occasions. In covering this episode on this podcast, I've never heard so much love for your Inside the Urn program.
This is why it exists, because this season we were like, things need to be explained.
So, look, I don't watch Inside the Urn, and I proudly don't watch Inside the Urn, and I never will, because I like to speculate wildly, so I don't want to be told what actually happened. I understood what happened with the votes. I was taking notes. I'm like, who voted for who? Oh, Keegan's flipped, whatever. Just by the beginning of the next episode, which is just fantastic editing. I understood enough of what happened with the confessionals and discussions that you put in right in the start of the episode after the merge. So that's brilliant editing. I don't think you actually needed in the Urn to understand it. I get why you did it, because not everyone's like a super fan who's analyzing all the strategy like I am. But like, it was that well edited that it was understood even without it. And I felt that what an incredible love story. You must have been absolutely just blown away that such an exciting tribal council had happened. How did you guys feel when you knew that everyone had just been protected?
I mean, you see it on our faces. And like, that we should not have done that. Like, we should not be giving away anything. We should not be reacting. But you know how it's all playing out, and I know that the votes. I know who all the votes are, and Jay's my friend. Jay was my colleague at the time, and so when they get played on each other, I go, okay, this is where Jay goes, and then she gets up and does it, and you see our face, and we're like, oh my god, it's so good. It's
an incredible read from her. I talked about it on the on my deep dive with her, because for all intents and purposes, you'd assume Jess is getting the votes, and I guess once Jess got protected, she got concerned, but it was actually her who was actually getting the majority of the votes. Obviously, they probably switched it for that reason, and to have that double out, obviously. Stephen knew that the votes were coming on Mitch, because basically Keegan had directed those guys to do it that way. But first, obviously it spoke to their relationship, Keegan and Stevens, that Keegan was just told Stephen, you should play your idol on Mitch. And I love that. Or while Keegan could, of course, use his idol, but it's like, no, Stephen, use your idol on Mitch.
Yes. Classic Keegan.
Did you know that the idols were getting played, or did you not really have how much information? You probably get a lot more information now, but back in the day, did you have any idea what was going to be coming in these tribal councils?
Nah, this season's merge, every tribal council, we were like, what is going on? Like, we had no idea who was with who, like what names were going to be in the end. Like, we would often go to read the votes and just be like, okay, no idea what's happening.
Yeah. we heard afterwards about like the lines under the votes and I can't remember if it makes the show, the little lackeys.
Yeah, the lackeys. Yeah. Just mentioned that.
Crazy. Yeah.
There's so much going on.
That level of gameplay. And then, of course, now you got into the merge and your controversy decision to do a double vote with a minority vote going home. I was looking at the YouTube comments while I was watching this, rewatching this for this podcast, and the YouTube comments were not kind to this decision. Whoever was watching it at the time was not a fan of the decision you made to have a minority vote send someone out. Was there any thought when you're putting this in that, is this unfair? Is this against the spirit of Survivor that you can go out on a minority situation? Or were you like, no, whatever, let's...
So it was, I don't know if you've frozen or if it's just for us or if we are still there. So pause, maybe you can put it in the chat. I'll put here, you are frozen. Or are we gone?
Maybe we just talk.
Just keep talking? Yep. Okay, so comment. CK is frozen. Okay, great.
So you can hear us.
It's all us.
All right, let's go.
Over to us. We're running the show now. So this twist occurred in Melbourne Survivor Season 1, which I played in just a couple of months before we filmed Season 2. Oh. And it is the twist that sends me home. So in Melbourne Survivor Season 1, it happens at the final 8, and I get 2 votes there, and that is enough to send me home. So it's definitely controversial, and for some reason, I brought this to Bryan to be like, it's a pretty spicy twist. And I think you were not sold on it.
It's not my favorite. How I feel about it, though, is it's in the right season because these are players who can, because in order to survive this vote, I think it requires quite a lot of strategy and ducking and weaving, and I don't know if we've had a cast that's so full of players that are able to navigate. We worked out it would have been Tristan next anyway. It's Claudia who gets a little bit screwed up here.
Yeah.
It's a shame that Claudia gets knocked out here. My memory, though, is that Claudia has started to fall apart a little bit by this point.
Right. Yeah.
She's been saying stuff that she hasn't meant to say, and then going to Jess and being like, "Oh, I made a mistake." Yeah. So.
Yeah, it is a tough spot for the players who get like screwed by this twist, but like it is spicy, and I enjoy watching players be presented with a twist like this and find a way to navigate it. And something that we did do differently to Melbourne, with Melbourne, it was presented at Tribal Council. So we got to Tribal Council, it was like almost time to vote, and then, by the way, the 2 people with the lowest. So my pitch to Bryan was, let's tell them at the start of the round so that they at least have time to figure out how to play that dynamic and make it work in their favor. And grab the twist so I could do a big move, even though I'm not a fan of the double vote. Yeah. So, and it can also be like results based as well. If people like the outcome, then they like the twist potentially.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point it's like Keegan, Jess, Stephen hurtling towards the end for a win. If we lose Keegan and Stephen in this,
right,
then I think we, with all due respect to Tristan and Claudia, I think given the trajectories of everyone's game, that I think we get a lot more hate.
Well, and going into it, I remember thinking, oh, I feel really bad because it's obviously going to be Jay and Mitch that go out here. Because those were the names that were kind of floating. It just seemed like if they continued getting votes, then it's likely going to be those two. So when it ends up being Tristan and Claudia, I'm like, people have found a way to maneuver these numbers and not just like the people who were on the outs or getting votes, a default gone here. Keegan said, do you think it would have been more chaotic if you found out a tribal? Yeah.
I think then Mitch and Jay just go.
I think it would have been, much messier and, potentially just an easy pile on names. Yeah. I'm glad that we didn't do it that way.
It's so heartbreaking watching Tristan's face.
When
all the names come out and he thinks he's avoided it, and then more names. I remember, in terms of like harrowing experiences of people after being voted out, Tristan's one of the worst. I remember he came up to me and he gave me a hug and he was like, what a horrible way to leave the game. And it's like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. at this point. And he's played all day. And he was playing a pretty strong game.
Yeah.
Tristan's a pretty solid player.
Yeah, I think as well we wanted to do something like this after season 1, where we do have a majority in the merge who are able to carry that through. Whereas, we don't know what the dynamic's going to be by the time we get to this point in this game. So it's also a bit of like risk mitigation of like, if we are in a situation where we have another majority that's waltzing their way to the end, this allows the minority to interrupt that. This season didn't need it. But that was also part of the reason why we considered this twist.
I love that CK said he doesn't like Inside the Earth, doesn't watch it, and now that's what the faces up.
Welcome to Inside the Urn.
While we just wait for CK.
I'll just see what he said. The internet's fully gone out in my area. Are you able to end the podcast? Why would we do that? My issue is I can't hotspot as I live in a dead zone.
Okay.
I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, should we just keep going? I feel like we should keep going.
No, it's our show, not yours.
Yeah. So we have the double vote. Claudia and Tristan go. I have such a.
Liz says keep going.
So who's next? Next, it's John and Mitch.
Yeah.
Okay. So
talk about that. I'll respond to Stephen.
Sure. So I mean, I feel like John is someone who. So I know Fiona, who will end up playing on season 4, and John is her little brother. So a big Survivor fan, or at least I thought was a big Survivor fan, but I think I kind of tapped out. And very rewarding watching John march through the game. I love John. John's one of my favorite people ever, and him just marching through the game. With him and Jess, we knew that they were going to be on the tribe together, and this is, I think, the last time that we actually designated tribes. And before, we've only ever done it for 1 and 2, and we knew Jess and John, they were either going to not like each other or they were going to love each other, and it ended up being love each other. I really do think that they have one of the better backyard stories as a duo across everything that we've done, which obviously comes to a head here when Jess is going to vote out John at final setup. And it's really Keegan and Stephen's doing. I don't know. Maybe Keegan can tell us in the comments whether the two of them fight over who gets the most credit, but it's definitely those two trick Jess into thinking that John's turned on her when he hasn't.
Yeah, and like hearing Jess on the interview last week as well, like part of it for her was so her and John like had established like we're in this alliance, um, like default lock it in. For John, he was kind of like he didn't feel like he needed to remind Jess of that or to like keep talking with her because it's like yeah, default. We said so at the beginning, but for Jess it's been a while since John is like speaking to her about any kind of strategy. And so she's now thinking, well, does he even want to play with me? Because he's not talking to me, whereas these other people are. So maybe John doesn't actually want to be in an alliance with me, and that's why he's not talking to me.
I remember at the viewing party, Jess watching this, she was very upset. Very upset. I mean, Jess plays with all of her heart and all of her morals. And yeah, watching how it all played out for her, and that when John says when he gets voted out, I'm most disappointed in Jess. I remember Jess like, oh, and I think she went and phoned John as soon as because John wasn't at the viewing party. I think she went and phoned John straight away. I had a little part of memory, but it was really Stephen who did the heavy lifting for this one.
Yeah, and I can I can relate to John here because I think I did the same thing with Toby when I played Melbourne 1 of like I was like yeah me and Toby we said so at the start, but as a result I was like not making an effort to check like we still good. I was just like yeah we're good. I didn't need to talk to him. So yeah, it's dangerous, risky.
Yeah, John. But I mean, Jess also will make a error here because this will really get Sarah offside.
Yeah.
And that will eventually come back.
Yeah. But it's like that's what makes this season so exciting, right? Yeah, like that you have this strong four from green going into the merge and like we got to final 9 and we're like those 4 are still in. It's going to happen again like season 1. Like if they survive this double, we're at final 7 with a majority for green and they're through.
Yeah.
And so Tristan going and then you lose John as a result of his own alliance, someone from his own alliance going against him. That creates this divide between the last 2 of green. It's like it's such a and here's some balloons to represent that moment.
Thanks, Mr. Keegan. Yeah. Do you remember what we were thinking around this time? Like in terms of I mean, it was probably 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. It was either like here or the next round, final 5, where we were like, oh, the players haven't been fed.
Yeah.
Like not only has it gone this late, like we had not incorporated like rewards, any kind of food into this. Like hot, long day, no food. The players were like, I think they started to tell us of like, we're really struggling now.
Yeah. I mean, to speak to the going late into the night in terms of how that comes about. Yeah, we start late. We have big distances to cover. We're very new at this, and thought because we've done season 1, it would be exactly the same. When we hit the merge, it gets dark. Like that's that merge comeback challenge. That's when it's full night. And we also had someone who was involved in production who was really helping us be like, I'm gonna go home. And crazy to think that at one point, Kyle and I had a conversation with each other where we were like, I think we just need to call it. We are so far from the end and we've let everyone down and everyone's going to be so disappointed, but we can't keep going.
Yeah.
And I don't even think we decided to keep going. I think we decided, let's do the comeback challenge because these people have been waiting all day for this. And then we were like, let's just do the merge round. And then the 3 idols come out.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether we put it to them or not.
No,
I think we just kept going because of that tribal council really saved us.
Wait,
Hello!
intruder.
Here I am, hot spotting from down my street in the middle of the road.
Well done.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest secret we've ever had on Backyard Survivor, everyone.
I can't believe that tea we spilled.
I can't believe we just spilled all of that. You just got it out of us.
Well, I have to go back and watch it. I'm sure there's lots of exciting tea. The one thing we didn't get to really talk about that I'd just like to say, I'm sure you guys agree, that Jay was really doubting her game herself when I was chatting with her, and hopefully I gave her some feedback that made her feel good, because her game was really fantastic. I think she played such a great game, and she deserved who won. I like how they've been giving all these questions. You've been answering their questions. That's really good. I think I will end. But that said, there's a question from Keegan. He would like to know how much thought went into organizing the tribes.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Because we were conscious of balanced tribes, who we thought would be good in physical aspect, mental aspect, what kind of dynamics would be at play between them. Are these all going to be default besties, or is there going to be someone that potentially stirs the pot? And we were also casting this season with season 3 as well, so there was a bit of movement between the 2 seasons, even of
Interesting.
Okay, we'll put this person on season 2 and that person on season 3.
Man, no offense to the people that end up on season 3. I know Liz is in the chat, but it's just the way that 2 went. It's not that one season was better than the other, though. We've talked about the location before, but the opportunity to have been part of this season, I think for all of them, I think they would really relish, because I don't think the planning or the twists are any much that different between the 2 of them. It's just worked out in such an exciting manner in this one.
And I'm really glad that you mentioned Jay's winning game as well, because I like being her friend. I know that she doubts it. And when you come from a season that has Jess, Stephen, Keegan, all these great John, there's so many to stack. The cast is so stacked. I know that Jay doubts it, but I think she has such a solid game in so many domains of the game. Her winning the Final Four is still one of my favorite moments on set, because I just thought, if Jay can clinch this, then she's going to win. And if Jay loses, then I think she's gone. And she'd never won anything. It had been such a story. And sometimes we don't know the story until we watch it back, but we definitely knew the story that Jay was coming second in all the challenges. So her putting that top block on and winning, and her falling to her knees, that to me is not to spoil it, but that's the Valentina level energy at the time of someone getting back in the game kind of environment. It was really, really, really cool. Sorry,
Keegan's favorite.
Yeah, it was an incredible moment.
Yeah.
When she absolutely definitely not Keegan's favorite moment, as he says here. When she breaks down with the victory, it's a really amazing moment. It is everything that you say. As a viewer, you know that she's pretty much done. If she doesn't win that, it's one of those moments for the ages, the final tribal win. I did earlier on when I started this coverage, Stephen wanted my view on Jay using an errant coloured tile, not using a blue one, but using an orange one to secure victory. And my thoughts on that. And I said I thought it was fine, because I could see the blue tile that was supposed to be there on the ground. So it's not like she was out of tiles. And he did say, well, what if it just fell over when she tried to replace it? And I'm like, the whole thing stood up for the next 5 minutes until she knocked it down. It was solid and secure. And he took the point on that, actually. I felt that I didn't think that was controversial at all. What was controversial that we've discussed at length, and I meant to end this now that I'm on the street, but I have to discuss this, the lack of jury attendance at the tribal councils. It's, to me, the only downside on the season. I get that it was late. I get people were tired. I get Claudia's mum had been waiting 5 hours in the car for her. Or something.
if I'm on a jury, I'm not going anywhere. And I do feel that some of these players who ran such an amazing endgame got robbed of an opportunity to actually perform to a jury at a lot of their tribal councils and the people that weren't there. Well, I know you fixed this by planning things better in the future, and I don't think you begrudge anyone for not being there. But is there a little bit of disappointment that you couldn't have more present juries going into the end game?
I mean, of course you want them to be there, but also this was season 2. LRGs wasn't really a big thing. Like people didn't know it to be the product that it is, and so I certainly don't blame people for signing up for this thing, being eliminated, and then still just having to hang around for so long. Members of crew are starting to leave. Like it's starting to feel like it's wrapping up. People had plans the next day because they didn't think it was going to go that late.
Like I think AJ leaves at 2 a.m. and then starts work at 7.
Yeah.
So it's like they're not leaving because they can't be bothered.
Yeah. Just like they've pushed it as far back as they can. Like we told them finish at midnight. And so like, once you get to like 2 a.m., people are like, sorry guys, I've got to tap out.
Liz coming in with a little remark from the side here, but say what you want about season 3 with the head of we're all there. Give them the credit. They were all there. All right. And we'll end on that little spicy note from Liz. Thank you, Carl and Bryan, for coming on, and thank you for running the show during my internet issues. I've walked out on the street to finalize it so I could hotspot. Love this season. As I said, it's the first thing I ever saw was them running on the slip and slides. It came up on some sort of paid promotion or something. It must have been a paid promotion.
Right.
It's
like the one time we've
ever done it.
And that's how I found it. It came up as a paid promotion on my Facebook feed, and that is how I discovered this entire community. So thank you for doing that paid promotion and letting me see it. And then
another one. It's been 6 years.
That paid promotion got me into this entire community and doing this podcast and everything we're doing, and the fact I got to play and everything like that. So thank you so much. This season was so great then and so great to recap. It deserves to be higher, but I understand, why when people have one vote to give or their best vote to give, that they've obviously given it to, if they're looking at Backyard, they've given it to season 4, which we're yet to cover. And I think both of you should be very proud that you're the only LRG to have 2 in the top 5. I think I know you've got the most, but equally it just speaks to the quality of what you've produced over a large number of years, that you were able to get enough votes from people to say at least 2 of their seasons deserve to be that high. So congratulations on that. I look forward to speaking with you both when we cover season 4. It will be a while because, as I say, we're going to run through Sydney, which was 4, and I'm not going to reveal what the 3, 2, 1s are because from here on we're going to be covering Canberra versus the World, and then who knows, maybe your next season might be dropping soon after that. I sort of feel so. So I might be. It might be a while before we come back to this countdown and we work out which is the bronze, silver, and gold between Playing with Fire, Canberra, Ultimate Sacrifice, and Backyard Redemption. But it'll be great to cover those in due course when we have another lull in LRGs. That's why another reason why I want to get Sydney done, give it its due time and get it done. So we've only got the top 3 to finish whenever we get back to this. But frankly, I've been doing this for a while and it's been good and it's been great to do, but I am looking forward to some new content, as I'm sure you both are as well. And I'm sure many of our listeners are. Thank you again, Kyle and Bryan. I really appreciate your time and your efforts creating Backyard Survivor. Thank you to everyone that participated in our coverage of the Yards Apart season. Jess and Stephen, who were fantastic with Annabelle on the tea party. Not John for standing us up. Seriously, John, what the fuck? Equally, Jules and Danny for doing the very long recap with me. Keegan for coming on and doing an interview. And, of course, Jay, who was really unsure about doing an interview, to be honest. I could tell in my correspondence with her that she was not certain about wanting to do it. And I think she had a really good experience. And I had a fantastic time interviewing. So I'm really glad that she's obviously a brave person, but she found some, that courage that she clearly has and decided to do something that was a bit uncomfortable for her, perhaps like when she played the game to some extent, and came on the interview and was absolutely brilliant like she was on the game. So thank you to Jay for that. And thank you everyone that has commented along live and listened and watched live and then watched on replays or listened on replays. As I said, I'd probably talk into the void of 0 listeners if I just probably would. But it's really nice to know that people actually watch and listen and live. And I know a lot of people watch it after the fact, which I always appreciate. And everyone here at the ORCA Pod really appreciates, because we're doing this for the community, but it's like nice to get the feedback that the community likes what we're doing as well. So thank you to everyone. Thanks again for running the show in my absence, Carl and Bryan. You got a lot of experience hosting. I had every faith that it would be a wonderful piece of coverage without me. So well done, thank you.
I appreciate that you've run out into the street and you're now just like in the abyss of night in winter somewhere just to get a bit of internet.
It's very yards apart. It
is. What?
Yeah.
What a way to end this podcast, just like, working through the technical difficulties and then, just going with it, making it work and still producing incredible content. So I think it is a very nice testament. Thank you for that, Bryan. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll be back in about a week and a bit's time to do our Sydney recap. Until then, I will have a great time and I will see you all then. Peace. So you can see it. Woo.